Hello and welcome to Odds on Bundesliga Matchday 19. Ronan Murphy, I guess it's time to believe now in Leverkusen.
I think it is time to believe. It is finally time to believe. There's 7 points in the difference. Obviously, Bayern Munich have a game in hand, but it's now time to believe. I said last week it will be a big week for Bayern Munich, a big week for Leverkusen, and time has proved that to be the case. It's making things very interesting, and maybe it is Leverkusen no more.
Exactly. Finally, we can change the Leverkusen curse. Now the bookies place Leverkusen and Bayern Munich with the same odds to win the Bundesliga for the very first time, 1.91. So imagine that they are 7 points away from Bayern Munich, and the bookies still think that Bayern Munich are as favorites as Leverkusen to win the title. We can see right now in Oddspedia the odds. So tell me in the comments if you think this is going to be the year for Leverkusen. Finally, we are going to see another champion in Germany. In the meantime, of course, press the like, subscribe. Let's go on with the show. And also remember that we still have the welcome bonus with 1xBet, 130%. This is exclusive for our Oddspedia viewers. Use our promo code. You have the link in the description to use it. Well, it's 7 points away Bayern Munich from Leverkusen with one game in hand for Bayern Munich. Is the game that they are going to play on Wednesday. Just a few words on this game. Ronan, is always very tough to check good odds for a Bayern Munich game, and this one, there are two facts. No, they are playing at home after that defeat that no one expected against Werder Bremen, but also Union Berlin. They are so poor away from home, so it's in our minds it's only a Bayern Munich heavy victory, I guess.
Yeah, you would think so. And if you look at previous times the Bayern Munich have lost this season, which haven't been too often, the defeat in the Super Cup was followed by a 4-0 win over Bremen. The defeat to Saarbrücken in the German Cup was followed by a 4-0 win at Dortmund. And then the defeat to Frankfurt, they followed that with a 1-0 win over Man United in Manchester, and then a 3-0 win over Stuttgart. So I expect Bayern Munich to come out with their knives sharpened and ready to take Union Berlin out of it. So this one, history is not on Union Berlin's side. Bayern have won 6 of the last 9 meetings. There have been 3 draws. In 2 seasons ago, it was 4-0 and 5-2 to Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich won this fixture 3-0 last season. So it seems like this is going to be a big win for Bayern Munich. There might be value in Bayern to score in both halves, 1.67. Bayern to win both halves is 2.2. Bayern to score a penalty, which could happen because Harry Kane maybe is due one, and Union Berlin are known for their tough tackling, so that's 3.4. But for this one, I'm going for just a tip of Bayern to win big, so Bayern Asian handicap minus 2.25.
Well, let's focus then on this matchday 19, starting on Friday with Frankfurt Mainz. I also expected Frankfurt to win in Darmstadt, and they were leading 2-0, but at the end they couldn't get the victory. Now the odds are also very good to back them, to be honest, to beat Mainz. We didn't see Mainz playing against Union Berlin because the game was postponed due to icy weather. Would you agree with me going for a Frankfurt win here?
Yeah, I would. I think Frankfurt, they were probably unlucky and they're probably kicking themselves after letting Darmstadt back into that game because it was scrappy goals. It looked like Frankfurt were comfortable, and they'd be disappointed that they weren't able to hold out for the victory. Frankfurt here, they have 7 wins to Mainz's 1. So Mainz have not been winning a lot of games this season. The most common result here is 1-1, but the most common result in Frankfurt is 3-0 to Frankfurt. So last season's home game was a 3-0 as well, and then 1-1 in Mainz. So that's where the 1-1s are coming from when Mainz are at home. And Mainz, it was actually 1-1 in Mainz earlier this season. So it could be a 3-0 to Frankfurt here is what history tells us this is going to be. So the Frankfurt have won they've won 11 of the last 20 home games against Mainz. So I think they have great odds in their favour. It's a great history in their favour. Mainz are only averaging 0.8 goals per game. So if you like both teams to score no in this one, it's 2.05. I'm also liking the look of Frankfurt to win to 0. That's 3.4. But I think, like you said at the start, just to bet on Frankfurt to win, the odds look good at 2.04. So that looks like a good tip for this one.
I'm surprised, to be honest. Only one win this season for Mainz, only 11 points, and still we see them with these odds to visit Frankfurt. They are challenging for the Europa League spots, Frankfurt. Next game on Saturday, we have again Bayern Munich playing against Augsburg, a regional derby. And my question is, what about Tuchel? Because perhaps Bayern Munich can end this season without a trophy in Germany. They lost the Super Cup against Leipzig 3-0, out in the Cup against Saarbrücken, and now really far away from Leverkusen. How is the situation in Munich with these results?
Yeah, there was kind of obviously question marks when Tuchel was appointed in the first place, because many Bayern fans wanted them to keep Nagelsmann, thought he was the long-term answer for the club, and Tuchel was seen as sort of a surprise appointment by many, but excuse me. And then he was lucky enough to win the league on the last day of the season last year, and he's not keeping up that. He's not really doing much better this season. He's 7 points behind Bayer Leverkusen, like we've said. So if things don't go his way, I wouldn't be surprised to see him out of a job. Obviously, Bayern Munich, they have no shortage of candidates that they could pull in. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world. There was obviously talk in the past that Jose Mourinho could be an option. He was speculated before. He's now back on the market. So there is the chance that Bayern Munich will look around and see what else is available, especially if Tuchel can't do well here and win the Bundesliga title, because after 10, 11 in a row, it would be a shock for them not to win. And like I said earlier in the program, they're the same odds as Bayer Leverkusen to win the title. And when do we ever see this? Even when Borussia Dortmund were ahead in the Bundesliga last season, you still thought that Bayern Munich would come back and win the title, and they did. So you kind of question whether Bayer Leverkusen can hold on and win the title here. And if they do, that surely is the end of Thomas Tuchel, because Bayern Munich fans, they expect success. They expect success in the Bundesliga as a given, and then they definitely will be looking to the Champions League. So if he was to get knocked out early in the Champions League and maybe only barely scrapes the Bundesliga, that could also see the end of his career at Bayern Munich. So there's a lot of pressure on him at the moment. This maybe is a good match for him, performing from the Union Berlin match to help keep the pressure on Bayer Leverkusen, because Bayern Munich are playing earlier than Leverkusen. So this local derby should be a fiercely contested one. Augsburg, they don't usually turn up against Bayern Munich. The most common result in Augsburg is 2-0 to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have won 12 of the last 16 visits to Augsburg, but not the league game last season. However, they did make that up for that by winning in the cup, which was 5-2. So in Augsburg. So Bayern have great history against Augsburg. They won 3-1 at home this season. And the last time they lost this season, they went on a 3-game winning streak. So we expect Union Berlin to be the first of them. Augsburg should be the second. So they should win this one, and I think they'll win this one comfortably. The average goals here are 3.1 for Bayern, 1.4 for Augsburg, so that could be a high-scoring game. Bayern to score in both halves here is 1.73. That looks good, but overall I'm going for Bayern Munich, Asian handicap minus 1.75. It's on the screen there.
Did you say that Jose Mourinho has been linked with Bayern Munich?
Not recently. He was before Tuchel came in. Yeah, not this time.
I would be very, very surprised if he joins next season Bayern Munich, but worst things we've seen in football. Next game, let's see about Tuchel. It's very interesting what is going to happen with Bayern Munich until the end of the season. Next game is Hoffenheim-Heidenheim, the first one, the two most difficult teams to pronounce if you are not German, by the way. Hoffenheim, they are in bad form, but still not far from the European spots. Probably two favorites for this game. No, 1.7 is too low. It's only 1 point in the last 4 games, and Heidenheim, they are still getting points from all the games. They drew with Cologne and Wolfsburg in the last 2 games. They are undefeated in 5. That's why I'm surprised to see these very low odds for Hoffenheim to win.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think the bookies perhaps are underestimating Heidenheim. They're still seeing them as the team that was promoted last season rather than the team that is showing up in the Bundesliga and taking points off better teams. And we saw earlier in the season that these two teams can play out a thrilling affair. It was 3-2 to Hoffenheim. Hoffenheim left it late in that game, if you remember. So Heidenheim are capable of scoring against anybody. They don't fear anybody. They're not your usual promoted team. So I think this could be an interesting game. I think it could be a one for the neutrals. I think there could be plenty of goals in this one. It seems that both teams, they're not really great at defending, but they're not afraid to attack either. So both teams to score in Hoffenheim's games, 85% of the time it's been yes so far this season, 65% for Heidenheim. So both teams to score yes, 1.58 looks good here. But the average goals kind of indicates that this will happen. So 1.9 to 1.5. So there should be a good chance of that happening. And Heidenheim Asian handicap 0 could be an option here. Like you said, they could get something from this game. I wouldn't be surprised. But I like to look at both teams to score in the second half, because as we've seen earlier in the season, this is something that these teams do, and they will do against each other. They both be going to get the win from this match. So both teams to score in the second half is 2.75. So that's my tip for this one.
Okay, Marco is highlighting the draw, which is also a very good option for this game. For sure, not the Hoffenheim win, paying so low. Next game, very good one, Stuttgart-Leipzig in the Champions League spots. Both of them, but they are coming from defeats. Stuttgart to Bochum and Gladbach away in this 2024. No Girassi, no party. Leipzig also 2 defeats in the 2024, both at home against Leverkusen and Frankfurt. The first 2 defeats of the season, back to back. The bookies don't know what to think about this game. The draw is the most likely outcome for this one.
Yeah, it does seem like Stuttgart might be able to get something from this, even with Girassi. They might get a mini party, perhaps, in his absence. Dennis 𝐬𝐿 might blow out the candles, perhaps, when Gerassi's not around. But yeah, this one, I think it should be a good game. These teams aren't afraid to attack. We've seen Leipzig, obviously, against Leverkusen. They played well. They got on the score sheet. They looked like they were headed for a deserved point at one stage, but Leverkusen never give up this season. So it's a different sort of beast from the usual Leverkusen. But Leipzig are kind of what we expect from them. They'll be kind of getting good results against most of the teams below them in the table, and then kind of putting themselves up against the teams around them near the top of the table, but maybe falling short a few times. With Stuttgart, at the moment, they're one of the teams that are around them in the table. You would think that Leipzig should be able to get something from this. Stuttgart, I think they don't look the same the team without Girassi and Siles missing, but that's what we've seen so far in this season. But 𝐬𝐿 should be able to step up and maybe do something. The average goals for Stuttgart is 2.1. The average goals for Leipzig is 2.2. So that kind of indicates we should have plenty of goals in this one. If you remember earlier this season and back in August, it was 5-1 to Leipzig in this fixture. So we know there can be goals in this game. Both teams to score yes here is 1.53. I think as well, there also looks to be good value in total goals over 3.25. That's all the twos, 2.22 for that one. I think there could be 4 or 5 goals in this game. It could be a high scoring match, even without Girassi. So, but like you said, I think because of the way the bookies are looking at it, and I think Leipzig could do something here. I like the look of Leipzig Asian handicap 0 for this one.
Well, in the head-to-head, Stuttgart, they are awful against Leipzig. We were checking it before. No victories in the last years. We can see right now 8 wins for Leipzig and only 2 draws. It's true that it was another Stuttgart. They were fighting to avoid relegation in the recent years, but still, even this season, they were thrashed by Leipzig. Leipzig, they have to react, or they are going to lose the Champions League spot, and in a few weeks, they are going to host Real Madrid in the Champions League. Next game, let's move on to Werder Bremen Freiburg, what a surprise, as we said at the beginning. Who could have expected Werder Bremen to beat Bayern Munich in Munich, with Weiser scoring the winner? Is no defeats in the last 5 for Werder Bremen, now facing Freiburg, a team that beat Hoffenheim 3-2, back to the fight to the European spots. It's also very difficult to read this Freiburg because they were getting low scoring games in recent times, getting better results, but now back to high scoring games in recent weeks. This one is very difficult to call.
Yeah, it seems to be one of these kind of surprise ones, and just like Werder Bremen come off the back of their surprise win. What a goal from 𝐜𝐿_𝐳𝐧𝐬𝐿, by the way. He made 𝐜𝐭𝐚𝐲 Davies look amateur. Bayern Munich, if the bosses were looking at that one, they'd be like, 𝐿𝐭𝐚𝐲, you can go to Real Madrid. I'll see you later, because 𝐜𝐿_𝐳𝐧𝐬𝐿 made him look like you could see him later. But yeah, what a win for Werder Bremen, and makes the Bundesliga much more interesting. But you kind of wonder how Bremen can continue after such a high last weekend, when they come up against a team like Freiburg, who are known for making matches difficult against opponents. It'll be a totally different match, obviously. So this one, I'm expecting it to be a low-scoring affair. Vincenzo Grifo for Freiburg, he became the first Freiburg player to be involved in 100 Bundesliga goals in the last game. But he could be the difference maker, because obviously he's good from set pieces and things like that. So it could be a low scoring game with him kind of making the difference. The most common result in this one is 1-0 to Bremen. Freiburg won 1-0 earlier this season. It seems to be a kind of a low scoring affair. The average goals here is 1.4 and 1.3. So I wouldn't be tuning into this one unless you have money on it. I'm not going to say the highlights package of this one is going to be too long, but two of the worst teams for both teams to score. 53% Bremen, 53% for Bremen and 50% for Freiburg. Total goals under 2.75 here is 1.96. But I think I'm just going to go for a narrow Freiburg win. So I'm going for Freiburg 𝐬𝐴_𝐷𝐻 for this one.
Well, we have Marco and Nadia telling us Freiburg to win. For this one, you are being more cautious with the Asian handicap 0 or the draw no bet. So if there is a draw, you get your money back. Also not really interesting to tune, but perhaps you can put some money on the Wolfsburg, Cologne. Wolfsburg really favorite, but they keep disappointing us. They were also favorite against Heidenheim, against Mainz, 2 games that they drew. It's only 2 wins in the last 12. So it's not good, I guess, to put your money on Wolfsburg with these odds. Ronan, 1.87, even if they play against a team like Cologne that they've been poor this season.
Yeah, this one has a correct score, 0-0 kind of written all over it, doesn't it? It's one of these games where you think that nothing is going to happen. It's as bad as we said that Bremen Freiburg game would be. This one looks like it's going to be even worse. It's not the greatest slate of Saturday fixtures. Lucky Bayern Munich are there to make up for it, I suppose. Most common result here is 1-1. Cologne, they're still struggling to score this season. 0.6 goals per game they're averaging so far, after getting nothing in the game against Borussia Dortmund. Lost 4-0 there. So they definitely won't be coming into this one full of confidence. But Wolfsburg, they don't score a lot of goals either. 1.2 goals per game. Both teams score, yes, has happened in only half of Cologne's games so far this season, and just above half in Wolfsburg's 57%. So it's not one where you expect to see lots of goals. So total goals under 2.5 here is 2.1. But I think I'm going to go for something a bit different with this one. Wolfsburg to keep clean sheet, because I can't see Cologne scoring at all. So that's 2.75 for Wolfsburg to keep clean sheet. So that's my tip for this one.
Well, Cologne only 11 goals scored, only 4 goals scored away from home, 5 points. So they are very poor, as you said. The goalless draw could be an option. Let's look for goals, and if we want goals, we have to watch Leverkusen. Of course, Leverkusen Gladbach is the next game. It's difficult to put more adjectives, to the season of Leverkusen. They are even having the lack of the champions in the last 2 games against Leipzig, with the goal scored by 𝐜𝐭𝐴 and against Augsburg, +7. and now they are facing Gladbach. This should be easier one. They are having a really poor season. Gladbach even losing in the last game to Augsburg.
Yeah, Gladbach, they're just not putting in the performances. They're not getting the results perhaps that some of their performances maybe deserve, whereas Bayer Leverkusen are getting the results regardless of their performance. They're able to get these late winners in the last couple of games, and that has been the sign of champions in many leagues in the past. Maybe Fergie time is now 𝐜𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐼 time, perhaps in Leverkusen. He seems to know how to do it. These players don't give up. They keep going until the end. So this could be... you would expect another win for Bayer Leverkusen here, but I wouldn't totally write off Gladbach. The odds of 11 do seem a bit too much for them, but yeah, I think Leverkusen, they have to come crashing down to earth, you'd imagine, at some stage. Probably won't be in this game, but you never know. Leverkusen's unbeaten run now, 27 games. It's 24 wins and 3 draws. That's the second longest. Yeah, that's the second longest in German football history. Only Bayern Munich under Hansi Flick during that kind of COVID era, I think it was the only longer one. So the 2019-2020 season, after he took over there from �𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐴𝐼, so that's the only longer one, 32 games. So it's still another 5 games for 𝐸𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵 𝐸𝐴𝐵 to go. So he have to keep winning and drawing for the next month and a half to beat the record. Leverkusen, they've won 30 of the last 60 meetings with Gladbach, including 15 of the last 27 at home. So history is on their side here. In Gladbach earlier this season, they won 3-0. Both teams to score has happened in 76% of Gladbach's matches. Only 56% of Leverkusen's, but like you've seen in previous weeks, in recent weeks, they will concede goals. It's going to happen, especially the way they're playing with Grimaldo and Frimpong kind of bombing forward up the wings. They leave themselves a bit more exposed at the back. So there could be goals in this one, and both teams to score looks likely. Both games last season were high scoring affairs. It was 2-2 in Leverkusen. It was 3-2 in Mönchengladbach. So I think both teams to score, yes, looks good here, 1.75. But I'm going to give Borussia Mönchengladbach a bit of a chance here. I think Leverkusen will win, but only to win narrowly. So I'm going to go for Gladbach Asian handicap plus 1.75.
Well, Nadia Hristova from Bulgaria is telling us Bayer Leverkusen 4-1 victory. She thinks this is going to be a smashing victory from Xabi Alonso's men. Next game is in Darmstadt, so it should be an easier one, these two, after a tough start of the year for Bayer Leverkusen. Keep dreaming, of course. Next games on Sunday, we have 2 more games. Union Berlin, Darmstadt. Union Berlin, they were dreaming last season and they qualified for the Champions League. Now, this season is about getting away from relegation. They are still close to the bottom 3, only 3 points away. They have 2 games in hand, but they have to win here. Of course, they are playing the poorest team in the Bundesliga, but also with Bielica in charge, it looks like they want to build a stronghold at home. They won the last 2, but the last game at home was 1 month ago. So I guess they still remember where is the stadium and how to win home games. Yeah,
it has been a bit of a nightmare more than a dream this season for Union Berlin. But so hopefully they can bring some of those dreams back to the old Foresters Stadium in Berlin, and they can get something here against Darmstadt. Darmstadt, obviously, they'll be delighted after last week to be able to get a 2-2 win. But like I said, there were scrappy goals, and Union Berlin maybe won't leave them as exposed. We've seen under the new coach, he's trying to kind of instill this discipline that we've seen in the past under Union Berlin. So I would expect this one to be another low-scoring affair. I'm not predicting a lot of goals in the Bundesliga this weekend, even though it tends to be the league with the most goals. But these fixtures aren't really offering us up a lot. It's all these low-scoring teams facing each other, and some of them, we're not getting these 4-0 and 5-0 victories. Perhaps this one, the only thing going for it is the fact that Union Berlin won the reverse fixture 4-1 in August. So there was goals earlier in the season in this one, so that's probably the only hope if you're looking for this one to be a spectacle on television. But this one, we don't have a lot of history to go between these two teams. They hadn't met since 2018-19 before this season, because they were in different divisions, obviously. So this one, I'm not expecting a lot from. Total goals for Union Berlin so far is 1.1 per game. Darmstadt are averaging 1.2. They brought that up slightly, obviously, after the 2-2 draw last week. So total goals here under 2.5 is 2.03. Both teams to score no is 1.95. So this one looks like it could be a 1-0 for me. So I do like the look of Union Berlin to get the home win here. So that's just going to be my tip for this one.
Let's see if Darmstadt, they are going back to the Bundesliga 2 after only one season in the Bundesliga. I was checking the Bundesliga 2, and right now we have St. Pauli and Holstein Kiel going to the Bundesliga and Hamburg in the playoff. Let's see if we have Hamburg back in the top division, but for sure we are not going to have Hertha or Schalke, especially Schalke. They are having a really poor season in Bundesliga 2. And the last game is Dortmund Bochum. Perhaps here we see more goals. Ronan, we have Dortmund completely on fire in this 2024. 4 goals against Cologne, 3 goals against Darmstadt, and both away from home. Bochum grabbed a very important victory against Stuttgart. Is now 9 points clear from the relegation spots. It looks like they are going to stay one season more in the top flight division.
Yeah, it does. It just seems that there are worse teams in the Bundesliga this season than them, so they're able to pick up points here and there, and that should be enough to see them avoid the bottom 3. But like I said, Borussia Dortmund have been fantastic so far this season, 3-0 and 4-0 wins away, or this year, I should say. They just look a different team, and I think that's like we said a few weeks ago, that the new coaches coming in should kind of change things for Edin Terzic, so it's not all on his head. And they seem to have maybe better positional sense in the past few weeks. Their tactics seem to be working a bit better, and obviously the 2 loan signings from the Premier League have helped. Sancho won a penalty in that last game after an assist on his second debut for Borussia Dortmund, and Ian Maatsen has been brilliant for Borussia Dortmund. He had a lovely ball from left back to pick out Daniel Mahlen, and the vision that you kind of rarely see from Borussia Dortmund players, it makes the team much more exciting. It makes them better up front. So I'm looking forward to more goals in this one. Borussia Dortmund now knocking on the door of the Champions League places, which we wouldn't have thought kind of a couple of months ago, but this looks like a totally rejuvenated Borussia Dortmund. I'm looking forward to seeing whether Daniel Mahlen can keep his place in the team as a starter. He's now their top scorer with 7 goals. He scored twice in that 4-0 win last weekend. And Borussia Dortmund, they've been pushing up their average goals so far this year. Now it's up to 2.1. Bochum's is 1.1. I think this could be a match where Borussia Dortmund have another big win to 0. So Dortmund to win to 0 is 2.7. They've won both away games to 0 so far this season, so they could do it in the home one. So for this one, I'm looking at a big Dortmund win overall. Dortmund Asian handicap minus 1.5. I think is a good one here to look at.
A good one indeed. Going for Dortmund, it looks like they are on fire. You said it a couple of weeks ago that you had trust in this new Dortmund in 2024. Is going to be very interesting. The tie with PSV in the Champions League in 3 weeks' time. Well, if you are as good as Ronan, for instance, with your tips, you can still participate in our tipster competition for January. For instance, we have a monthly competition. So for January, you still have 1 week to participate. You can check now the standings, or even you can participate for the one in February, have a fresh start. Remember that you can get and win some money. You have the money on the left corner that you can get. Oddspedia will transfer you the money on PayPal, via PayPal. So it's a good option to have fun, to play some tips, perhaps then place in your bets and win some money. It's completely free. So go and participate. Register in our website and you can participate 100% for free. Well, Ronan, apart from these competitions, if someone wants to have a fresh start in our competition and say, okay, I'm going to win this bet, which one would be the safest one for you in the Bundesliga?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm allowed playing the competition as an employee, so I'll just have to give the tips here. But yeah, my safe bet for this week is Borussia Dortmund to win.
You could participate. I think you have the terms and conditions in the website, so we have to check. Actually, but I think we could participate. And the ACCA?
Yeah, my ACCA this week, I'm going for Frankfurt win, a Dortmund win, Bayern win, and Leverkusen, Gladbach, both teams to score. That's coming in a total of 6.55.
Well, there you have your Bundesliga ACCA for the week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Ronan. See you next week. Bye-bye.